Welcome to another Klein adventure, where we head 120 kilometers southwest to Hermannsburg. Hermannsburg is an Aboriginal mission where the famous Albert Namatjira lived as a child and later returned and built a home just outside of the mission. The following is history of Albert Namatjira and the Hermannsburg mission. Ella was born on the 28th of July 1902 at Hermannsburg, Northern Territory. In 1905, the family was received into the Lutheran Church. Ella was given the name Albert. Albert attended the Hermannsburg Mission School in accordance with the practice of the missions. He lived separately from his parents in a boys' dormitory. At 13, he spent 6 months in the bush and underwent initiation. He left the mission again at the age of 18 and married in Alice Springs. 8 of his children were to survive infancy, 5 sons and 3 daughters. The family shifted to Hermannsburg in 1923. In his boyhood, Albert sketched scenes and incidents around him: the cattle yard, the stockmen and their horses, and the hunters after game. He later made artifacts such as boomerangs and woomeras. He was encouraged by the mission authorities to produce muggle wood plaques with poker-worked designs. Albert also worked as a blacksmith, carpenter, stockman, and cameleer at the mission for rations. He also worked on neighbouring stations for wages. The spectacular scenery of Central Australia attracted artists to Hermannsburg, namely Rex Bardaby and John Gardner. During their second visit in 1934, they held an exhibition for an Aboriginal audience. The traditional owners were familiar with illustrations of biblical scenes, but none had seen landscapes depicting their own surroundings. Motivated by a deep attachment to his country and the possibility of a financial return, Albert expressed an interest in learning to paint. In 1936, Albert accompanied Bardaby as a cameleer on 2-month-long excursion in and around the MacDonald Ranges. Bardaby was impressed by Albert's evident talent. In the following years, the pastor, Friedrich, the superintendent of Hermannsburg, displayed 10 of Albert's watercolors at a Lutheran conference held in Najupa, South Australia. In 1938, the two men went on an expedition, during which Rex Bardaby taught Albert photography. Later that year, Albert held his first solo exhibition at the Fine Arts Society Gallery in Melbourne. With Rex Bardaby's assistance as a teacher, dealer, and mentor, a school of artists finally developed around Albert. Albert is best known for his watercolor landscapes of the MacDonald Ranges and the nearby region. Albert also produced carved and painted artifacts and briefly painted on beanwood panels. Albert painted with country in mind and continually returned to sites imbued with ancestral associations. Albert's initiatives won national and international acclaim, and as the first prominent Aboriginal artist to work in a modern world. In the late 1930s, the government decreed that everyone should have a surname. They asked Albert about his totem, Namatjira, which meant flying white ant. So in 1938, Albert signed Albert Namatjira on the 41 paintings that he sold in Melbourne. In 1944, he was included in the Who's Who in Australia. Albert was awarded the Queen Elizabeth II's Coronation Medal in 1953. That was presented to the Queen in Canberra in 1954. Albert was an elected and honorary member of the Royal Art Society of New South Wales in 1955. His quiet and dignified presence belied the underlying tensions in his life. In 1957, led to further anomalies. Albert was granted citizenship and was exempted from the restrictions imposed on other full-blooded Aborigines. He had access to alcohol, which he shared with members of his family, in accordance with Aboriginal custom. In 1958, Albert was charged with supplying alcohol to the artist Henoch Raberba and sentenced to 6 months imprisonment with labour. Following a public outcry and 2 appeals, the sentence was reduced to 3 months. Albert finally served 2 months of open detention at the Papaina settlement in March to May 1959. He died of hypertensive heart failure on the 8th of August 1959 at Alice Springs. Hospital and was buried with Lutheran forms in the local cemetery. For a time, Albert's name drifted into obscurity, his achievements largely eclipsed by the dot painting style developed at Papunya, which is 240 kilometers northwest of Alice Springs, in the 1970s. Recent re-evaluations recognize his influence on Aboriginal artists in Central Australia and elsewhere. In 1994, members of the Hermannsburg Potters, led by his granddaughter Elaine, acknowledged Albert's legacy by producing a terracotta mural for the headstone of his grave. The work is a landscape combining three sites in the MacDonald Ranges, which were the subject of his paintings. This school is quite amazing. The sounds you're about to hear are actually live recordings of the kids in the classroom back in the 1930s. Once you return back to the main reception area where you enter, these paintings are for sale and they're locally made and painted on site or within the community. Thanks for watching another Klein Adventure. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.